Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in this never stopping, expanding universe. I apologize if I seem a little nervous. It's been a while since I've been on air. Of course, this is Rocken Larry Locken of Pleiadian Express Productions. We're here with Pleiadian Late Night Talk. My co-host, Ravishing Raquel Toombs, 9 hours up the coast from me in Vancouver, British Columbia. And we're just going to catch up on some things, some new energies, what Raquel's been up to lately, talk a little bit about her new guides and things of that nature, where the community's at this point as far as light workers and starseeds. And with that, I'll bring in from Vancouver, British Columbia, Raquel Toombs. But I guess you're in the suburbs, but I can say Vancouver. So
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm pretty close to Vancouver. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm like we were saying, we were talking a bit earlier. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And so it goes. We have these periods where everything just goes so smoothly, and these high energies just lift you up, and you're on this high, and everything's lovely and beautiful and lots of energy. And it still is lovely and beautiful, but sometimes it takes a little bit more to see that and experience that and get back up there. So I've been, these energies are kind of kicking my ass, and it's been consistently for, I'd say about probably 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, where I have been just down, working at physically, feeling these energies physically, a lot of density leaving. And it's just been ongoing work and hard work. And yeah, I've just been really tired. And honestly, a few times in this past couple of weeks, I've just been on my knees crying and just saying, I can't do this. Just help me. I'm putting a call out for help. So exhaustion and just having these feelings like this is just too much, I think is really common among a lot of us right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you mentioned in the pre-show about feeling just like the last couple days, like you were in a daze, and I've kind of felt like that too. Like, but not like your typical like somebody, oh, I'm just in a daze. It feels like you're out of sorts and like you don't even know where you are, and it's just subtle little things like that. But you would know better than I would. I mean, I'm feeling this too, but I've heard this recently from a couple other people as I've been kind of involved in other things lately in other ventures. But Raquel, what do you think that there's a mental, okay, like you're talking about all this physical, these physical pains that we get when these energies are high, and of course we've always known that, but do you think this one too was messing with you like mentally as well? Like, I mean, it was like, I mean, not only was your body hurting, but with your mind out of sorts? Did you have both that going on, or?
Well, that usually comes with going through, the extreme, the really harsh physical shifts when a lot of density is being released, and you're kind of a quickening or an acceleration, very quick upgrades. So that does a lot of, the physical work that does come with the mental tiredness, the mental exhaustion as well. But I think it's just about like keeping our spirits high and keeping focused. I don't want to say keeping focused on the positive, but it's true, because I know that like I've been down on my knees just saying, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then that's the lower self. That's ego. That's the little me saying, I can't do this. And then as soon as I say that and observe and acknowledge what I just said, then it switches to, you can, you will, and you are, right? And then it's like, what am I? And then I have periods where when I'm in that state, I almost feel bad, because it's like, what am I bitching about? Like, seriously, what can I do? Yeah, this is intense. And yeah, this is the hardest work that you will ever do in your life. And yeah, sometimes you're down on the floor for 12 hours a day and you can't function out there. You can't, some days you can't function. Some days you have to just stop, and you have to integrate, and you have to connect, and you have to stay on top of being the observer. Okay, this is, what's happening. This is what's happening with me. Now, I know that I have to go through this. So how can I make this more pleasant? This is not a negative thing. And this is something that is very difficult for me personally, is that I've been going through this harsh physical transformation, and it is requiring pretty well all my energy to be working on me and working on the physical. And I can't really, like, how do you explain it to people that are not experiencing it, or even not experiencing it so intensely? Most people would think, oh, well, then, if you're in physical pain, you must be sick, or you must have a syndrome, or there must be something wrong with you. But that's not the case, because I have never had like more muscles, more flexibility, more energy. I can run, I can climb, I can, so it's really hard, and it can be very, you can feel very alone. It can feel very lonely, and you can just, it can be hard not having people in your physical reality that understand, because they're not experiencing it. But at the same time, I do have people that they may not be experiencing it like I am, but they're very, very supportive, regardless, even if they don't understand.
I think you're starting to see more of that, like maybe in families and with friends and stuff like that. Like you just said, it's maybe they still might think, we're half crazy, but at least they know that we're going through. So I think their minds are opening to the fact that we are going through something. But yeah, it is a lonely feeling. How do you explain to somebody, that you're hurting like that? And then they may, want to take you to the doctor, and the doctor can't find anything. So, oh, it's all in your head. And, and they want to try a million, antidepressants on you or whatever. So it can be really, really lonely, and it's a long process. And I know your struggle has been difficult with this ascension through your body. I have yet to hear another story that tops yours. Maybe a few that have been close, but I mean, the stretching, like I've been doing that too. And I just thought about doing that a couple months ago, because I thought about you always down on the ground stretching when you're hurting. You'd be like, God, I got to go. I'm hurting and I've got to stretch. And it does help, but for 12 hours at a time, wow. Jeez.
Well, I have periods where I will be down, and I will be working it physically for like I said, for hours and hours and hours at a time. Then maybe for like a week or a week and a half, then time will go by and I'm good. I do more cardio and not as much stretching, and I'm more comfortable in my body. And actually my friend and neighbor was over the other day, and she said, I was talking to her.
Say what? You cut out.
Of when my
You're go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
10-4.
Okay. No, my neighbor suggested that I keep track of when it gets to these like intense, these really intense growth periods, to keep track and kind of write it down. Because it always seems to correlate with either solar flares or the cycles of the moon, the solar radiation or solar storms. So it definitely is all connected. And we're so much more sensitive now to the Earth as human resonance when that rises, to solar flares, to the cycle of the moon. We're way, way more sensitive. I think that all those things just give us a boost, and these energies that come through just start upgrading us really quickly. And I think we gotta we're strong. That's why we're going through this, because we're strong. If we weren't, we wouldn't be experiencing any of this, right? And also we're allowing. This is what we chose. I know this is what I chose. And yeah, it's not always pleasant and it's hard work, but it's not a chore, because for all the times that it's painful and uncomfortable, that the what I see, and then the more bliss and peace and joy I feel, it just spikes once I get through these, releasing this lower stuff. Yeah. So are you still there, Larry?
Yeah, I had a message. I had a Skype message come in from Sif. Yeah, real quick. Yeah, exactly. But I feel like right now, like we're at a point of a little bit of mental acceleration. I'm a little bit excited to see that it seems like people are getting back with it. Maybe these energies are hitting us so hard this time because it seems like there's been, I don't know, it just seems like there's been a lull in things for a while. But I guess it's all part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And it does get miserable. It hurts. There are pains that people can't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but I think it's a slow process. It takes. I mean, you've been at it 4 years now.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, you're still going through and having these issues, and so am I. And things in our environment change, and there's just a lot of factors that can play into this. But I just I just don't know. I just got discouraged for a while with a lot of people because I thought, well, at the same time, yes, we're supposed to be ascending to 4 and 5D. We still need to take care of business in 3D though too, without. I mean, I'm not trying to put the fear factor in it, but I mean, it's being aware is a good thing. You know what I mean?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what I want to talk about, like as far as the 3D, 4D, 5D, like 33rd dimension, I mean, all of it is here now. New Earth is here and now. It exists basically right on top. All the dimensions are here and now. And I know for me, when I'm, when I'm struggling, when I'm in the ego, I am experiencing 3D ego, material, physical realm, 3D. But at the same time, there will be, when I am, sun gazing, when I am in my heart, I see the colors that I see, the energy that I see. Now, I mean, my vision has changed even more, but I see the connectedness of everything. And I see just the most beautiful, amazing things that are not of this dimension. So what we're doing now is that we're clearing the old energies from this lower dimension, from the 3rd dimension. We're clearing these older energies and we're bringing in the higher energies. So this is not easy for the human. This is not easy for the ego. And this is not easy for the body, because we're constantly clearing the old and pulling down and bringing in the new. And so no wonder we feel zoned out and, unfocused and walking around on autopilot, not knowing where we are, because we are existing in more realities than one. But we're aware. We're aware that we're exist. Like, I know I'm aware that I exist, that I'm existing more than just, in the 3rd dimension, because I am seeing and feeling and experiencing the higher dimensions within this one. So that is something that is a lot of work to try and master that, to be able to function here, because it is more comfortable and it's more familiar to me to exist, to experience the higher dimensions. So the 3rd dimension here, it is heavy and it is dense. And it is work. It is work all the time to be clearing this and bringing in, clearing the density, bringing in the higher, and doing that's what we do, right? We're birthing a new world. So everything comes through us. We transmute it all, and we bring that that heaven, that new earth here. through releasing ego and through doing the work. And yeah, it's hard work, but really, it's nothing to bitch about. I remind myself that when I start bitching, because look at how beautiful it is as well.
Yeah, and of course, look at, look where you live. Like both of us, we both live in the Pacific Northwest, and it's a gorgeous region. Lots of elemental, lots of interdimensional activity, lots of ET activity, as you and I both know. You had spoke earlier about wanting to mention your new guides that you've been working with, or a new guide. Is this what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it was actually Isaiah from the Bible.
Oh, okay.
That was like, wow. Yeah. So a few nights ago, I say the other night because I have no idea, like, I have no concept.
Now that's old school. That's old school.
Yes, very much so. But I was on my mat, and this was, I put, like I said, I'd put out the call for help, and the only human guides, because I have a lot of, ET are the higher dimensional being, angelic and ET guides that kind of walked in when I did, right? That are here to support me. The only human guide that I have is my pappy that had passed away, I think about a year or less before I woke up. And I was lying on my yoga mat, and there was a man sitting to the right of me, and he was just doing energy work on me. And I had put out a call for help right before that. And he wasn't speaking. He didn't speak. So it wasn't a verbal thing. Like my connection with my guides, it's telepathic, but it's verbal. I hear the words. Now with him, he just sat there, and I could feel that he was working on me energetically, helping me. And then all he said to me was rest now. So I got up and I lied down to go to sleep. And I said to him, because he was very familiar, but I didn't know who he was. And I said, who are you? And he said, I'm Isaiah. I said, you mean the dude from the Bible? He said, yeah. And that was that. That was all the conversation that we had. But it was amazing, and it was so comforting. It was so comforting just to have him here helping me. Although I thought it was really bizarre, because I don't usually have humans that I connect to that are here helping me through. So that was a really wonderful experience. And then the next day I connected with him again. And although there were no words, and it was just him here helping me through, just support.
Yeah, that is a little bit different for you. You're usually the kind of been the rebel, go it alone. You didn't want to do any of the reading. You wanted to just go through this and experience this through your own lens and not be jaded by. And I understand what you meant. You didn't want to, risk getting jaded by, reading all this shit and being inundated by, God knows who, anybody from, David Icke to Barbara Marciniak to whoever the hell it may be. And usually, that's how you've done things. So that's quite an
Well, see, it wasn't a matter of not wanting to be jaded, or it was just a matter of knowing. It was a matter of, like, my process is right from the get-go. I was I took a back seat. Ego, little me, took a back seat, and higher self I just allowed myself to be guided. And I just knew not to research. I knew not to look into any of this stuff, because I had to know that what I was experiencing was not seen through the lens of something that I had read. I had to have my own experiences and no prior influence on what I might be experiencing. That was really important.
Yeah, and and you've told me that a million times over the years, and usually, I'm like, yeah. But it is true, because so many people are jaded by this stuff. It's easy to get jaded by something you read, and you may agree with one thing somebody said, so then all of a sudden you agree with everything they say, no matter what it is. But yeah, you were probably the only person that I've ever seen that I wouldn't have at least recommended reading a little bit of a couple books to, but you didn't really need to. And a lot of these people that are awakening now, I don't think really need to either. I mean, these millennials, these kids that were, they're 25 and under or whatever, they're very, very, very a lot of them are very in tune. I don't even think they realize how in tune they are, because they were born that way, and they're going to be the ones to change things. Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw it, the way they organized, over the Florida shooting. But we've been talking about this for years, right? These kids coming in after us, after the Blu-ray generation, so to speak. I'm not going to call you a Blu-ray, but yeah, I mean, I think we're passing the torch and to another generation that is going to get it right, because they, as a majority, see the logic in taking care of people, taking care of the environment, taking care of their waters, taking care of their animals, understanding that their animals have most of the same DNA, and then maybe they'll evolve to we're going to evolve to a stage where, none of us eat meat. And we realize it because it would eliminate all that animal waste. It eliminates, I'm not saying make the animal extinct. You wouldn't have to do that, but I mean, there's a lot of things that we could do. And I feel like that too. And I'm not going to harp on the gun issue at all, but what I think about it. But I think it's one of them things. It's a consciousness thing, right? It's got to be solved over time. It can't just be, by some law or by, however way it goes, it's going to have to be worked out through the collective consciousness. You know what I mean?
Well, it'll be resolved with the new energies, not with the old, not with anything we've ever seen or done before. The new energies. So the youth, the new energies, the youth coming in now, they have empathy, they have understanding, they have a connectedness, they have a wisdom, they have a very strong sense of right and wrong. They are not afraid to speak. I know that when I was younger, although I had a very strong sense of right and wrong, and there was things that I just saw that were not right, and I couldn't just shut up about it, and I got into a lot of trouble, and I got kicked out of school, and I got, beat up, and I got, but I think that now, the youth now, the adults are more supportive, and they're more understanding, and they're waking up too. So now really is the perfect time for these young people, because they have the support of people like us that that are awake and that have been doing this for a while. And so now we're not discrediting the children. We're not, looking down on them. We're not, we're really listening, and we're here to support them and, understand them and allow them to teach us and empower them,
Yeah, exactly. Because let me tell you, if you're one of these people that thinks that, oh, this is nothing with these millennials, they're just lazy, they don't, they're not interested in anything. They are a force to be reckoned with. Okay. And they are not going away. They are going to change the world for the positive. They don't want to breathe in pollution the rest of their life. Okay. They don't want to drink polluted water. They care about that shit. They care about a medical system. Mm-hmm. They care about, helping somebody go to college, investing in people. I mean, the logical shit that's not of a paranoid kind of a, old energy. Let's just say that, totally an old energy way of thinking. And these kids have really none of that old energy, because most of them are new souls to this planet, mm-hmm. And then it's just been a process of a few generations of this going on. I mean, yours and my generation, we kind of got one foot in the hippie generation and one foot in this new generation. It's kind of crazy, right? But I think we're closer to our kids as far as mentally now than we've ever been. What I mean by that is not that we're better parents, but we're just more in tune.
Yes, absolutely.
And you know what I mean? Versus like a World War II fucking parent that was a great, hard, strapping worker, but boy, by God, you didn't question anything. You didn't, like you said in school, you speaking out, got you in a lot of trouble. Well, these kids are in groups now, and they can't be stopped. And a lot of the teachers are younger and relating to them too. And you know, they feel the same way. These kids can't be stopped. These kids speak more articulate than the politicians that were fumbling and stumbling all over themselves over this, over this issue. It's just it makes so much sense that to some of this really really old energy that it doesn't know anything about what you and I know about. I mean, it must just really blow their minds, because these kids won't shut up. They're articulate. They're to the point. They sound like they've been speaking for 20 or 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Really. I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy, because also too with them, a lot of them, like when you and I were in school, you'd have like the jocks, or the nerds, whatever, right? These kids are like both. They're like brilliant scholastically, and they're also physically in tune, 95% of them. That's what I see, is that about 95% of these kids are both, well, the old stereotype, they're both a jock and they're both a nerd. They're brilliant. They can recite Shakespeare and knock your teeth out at the same time. And they're quick. They've grown up in a social media era where, they don't fuck around. They want shit done quick, and they want shit taken care of,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way I feel about it. And, and you're right. The cooperation and the awakening from the adults, even the people that I just slammed that are really, really old or not, and everybody's kind of awakening a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I see it. I mean, just in the past 4 years, like I really don't know many people that aren't throughout my journey so far. Living with mom, we're so connected. Quite often when she's feeling a certain, we're both feeling the same way, kind of at the same time. With me, cutting meat out of my diet and dairy and all that, it's just been, cooking different things, vegan meals or whatever. And mom's really not really eating much meat and really not wanting to. And really, so I mean, I just see so many people that are changing their lifestyles, and it's a natural thing. It's not a chore and it's not a fight. It's just they're I guess more in tune with their bodies as well, and just listening to what they need and going with it, and not worrying so much if they don't sleep for a certain amount of time, or if they don't eat for a certain amount of time. That's another thing I was going to bring up too. In the past 2 nights, sleep all around has been screwy for so many people. Normally I fall asleep pretty easy, and I like it pretty quickly. Put on my meditation, me and Ariel go in the healing chamber, and bang, we're out for 8 hours. But 2 nights ago, I was just exhausted. I was so tired I couldn't keep my eyes open, and as soon as I lied down to sleep, I was completely wide awake. And I thought, where did my tired just go? Because I was so tired all day. And then I was just like wide awake. And it took me, I don't know, I must have lied there for a couple hours. It took me quite a while to get to sleep. And then last night, the same thing. I was like so super tired. Then I lied down. I was wide awake. Finally managed to get to sleep. But then I woke up at 1:30 in the morning, and I was up. And I was on my mat, and I was doing my meditation and doing my stretching, and didn't end up going back to sleep till 6:30. But yeah, and I mean, I really, really cherish my sleep now. So it's just, my sleep's been weird, but I think it's coming up on a full moon again. And I know that I'm extremely affected, like I was saying earlier, by things that are happening, especially full moons. So that could have something to do with it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it really could be. I felt a lot of strong energies last night, and as I was looking out the window, the moon looked, it was kind of cloudy, but it looked about, I don't know, 60 to 75% full. I wasn't sure, but it was bright and big, and I agree with you what you're saying about the appetite. I know it's like you won't have an appetite for a day, almost. and then, and then you will the next day. It's strange. Or you will at a certain time that you didn't. I mean, everything's just kind of off like that.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I got to say about the vegetarian, if anybody ever had one of Sif's vegetarian burgers, they'd never have a regular one again. I'll tell you that much. But, and I know that's saying a lot, but it's true. It's true. And I found that, since I've been a vegetarian, Raquel, like I quit eating meat because I just never have liked meat my whole life. So, okay, so that was that. But then after being off of meat for a couple of years, now I'm really starting to look at I mean, there's no reason for us to raise and keep the amount of livestock that we do and I understand in certain parts of the world for food, it's still going to be needed and stuff like that. But, I mean, but again, it's one of them things that has to happen through consciousness. You can't push it on somebody like, oh, well, this, you could give them 5 good reasons why they should do it. And if they're, if they're not down with it or feel like they're being pressured, they're not going to.
No, they get defensive and angry about it. So me, like, even though I choose not to eat animals or animal products, I'm not the type of person that is going to judge or, bug someone else that is. I just that's their choice. So I'm not going to be all radical. It's not me to be all radical or judgmental because, someone does something that I don't. So even though I'm very passionate about animals and about, being healthy and doing the right thing, I understand that a lot of people, are still believing that they need to eat meat, still kind of old school that way, or still just wanting to, and that's fine. But I think that it's just going to be a natural progression with these energies as they increase, and as we become release more density, become lighter and lighter. I think a lot of people, and I see it already, a lot of people are no longer consuming meat or animal products, or even the lower density like processed foods and stuff. Ooh, I'm just having a big heart chakra.
Well, no, I was going to chime in right there and say, too, a gentleman was telling me not too long ago, he's feeling that exact same way about, he doesn't really want to eat meat. He's pissed because he doesn't want to. I mean, his body is not wanting him to eat meat anymore, right? He's mad. He's actually, he's mad that his body's moving that way. He's like, damn, I like,
Mm-hmm.
I like
and
meat.
But it will be natural too. It will just be natural. Your body just will not want certain things anymore. And if you try and eat them, try and consume them, your body, it doesn't feel good. You will, there will be side effects. So it's best to just listen and honor that. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, the idea of putting down any meat down my throat or anything like that, right? It would be about just a level down from as far as edible as like a kid's toy cook set of plastic burgers and shit. I mean, it doesn't vibe with my body. It's not something that you know what I mean? My body knows it's not something at this point that belongs in it, right?
Well, for me, that's also the same as, as pop. I used to drink pop. But I don't anymore because it's just, right? Or sugar, high amounts of sugar.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I have one now and then. But yeah, it is. It is. It really is.
I mean, our bodies just let us know. Our bodies let us know. And that mind-body connection is becoming very strong for a lot of people. They're, connecting back to that, listening to their bodies, and not worrying so much. Like, I know with me, it's just, I know what's going on. Most times, I know what's going on. My body tells me. My guides are there to tell me if I'm unsure. So I'm very connected to my body and the needs of my body, and very good at honoring what it needs. And yeah, my body definitely will tell me if I go against it and say, okay, well, hell, I'm going to have, going to munch on this or whatever. Afterwards, it's just like, oh God, why did I do that? Right. Because then you suffer for it. So It's a learning process, and you know, like everything else, we're learning to master all this as we go along.
Yeah, I think it's one of them things though that the people that still do eat a lot of meat, that I agree with you about 100%, but they need to realize that there are things to realize. This has been, and I'm probably wrong. This has always been my thought that it's, and without, no, there was never any judgment, but like eating meat, when you think about it, it's no different than being a cannibal, because we all have blood and bones and meat on us, and I'm not, and it's hard to express that point ever without somebody thinking, oh, well, you think it's just as bad as being a cannibal. No, but it's the same kind of concept, because you're eating another live body. And then I love this argument. This is one of the screwiest arguments I heard once. Somebody was like, well, by that logic, plants are alive, and they're, well, no, plants are alive. Yes, they're highly ascended beings, but they replenish. You're helping them by doing it in the right way, by trimming them, by picking their fruit, by, you know what I mean? And treating them the right way. They're replenishing it. They're not, it's not, have you ever heard that argument before that, oh, well,
I have heard that argument, but at the same time, I have become very, very connected to animals. I've become, well, you know me, throughout my process, I've had encounters, amazing encounters with so many different types of animals that have all just kind of come to me. And I see the consciousness and the wisdom of this, and the soul, and the personality in each being. And I connect very deeply with them. And I know that they see me, and I know that they feel, and I know that they're aware, and I know that they love, and I know that, that they want to live. So when you really see the wisdom and the soul and the intelligence of animals, it's very hard to look at them as a source of food.
It really is. Last night, or it was the other night, I was walking the dog. I usually do this kind of late night walk, and there was a family of 5. They weren't elk, they were just deer. We have elk up here too, but there were 5 deer, and they just watched us as we walked by, and we looked at them, and they looked at us. And, when I was growing up, it seems like in a situation like that, hell, they would have ran. You know what I mean? If they would have even seen you coming a mile away, a deer would have ran. But we just looked at each other and walked by, and I was trying to make sure my dog Sparky didn't scare him out of the field they were eating.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. They're more. Yeah. I feel like they're getting more ascended to. I've always said that, but then again, maybe it's just that we're just now getting in tune to what they've always known. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. And I know too that the higher, we vibrate, and the more light that we hold, animals are not, they know that we're not a threat. So they're not, a lot of them don't run away. They're not scared. Like, I have a squirrel here that I feed, because I feed the crows. Then the squirrel decided to come up, and I would call to it, and it would come running right up to me, and quite often ignore the peanuts and like try to run like right on me. And it actually, like, I screamed and ran like into the carport and into the house, because it scared me. I was like, I didn't know what it wanted. I'd put down the peanuts, and it would just ignore the peanuts. I think it just wanted a hug. I'm not sure. So then it started running up to Mom, and she came in the house, and she was kind of freaking out. So I went and set out in the carport. This went on for a few days. I went and set out in the carport, and I had a talk with it, and I said, listen, I probably shouldn't have been feeding you so close to me. And I have to say that you are making me extremely uncomfortable, and you're scaring me, because I don't know what you want. I'll feed you peanuts still, but I'll put them out further. I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression or whatever. And then it started to keep its distance from me again. After I had that talk to it, it started to keep its distance from me again. It would still come up, to get its peanut, but I'd toss the peanut. But for a few days there, it seriously, I had to run. It was going to jump right on me. So yeah, but just these connections with the birds, and with the squirrels and with skunks and deer and even a bear a while back. But you know, the awesome thing too, and then Ethan went away, so I'm watching his cat and his lizard, and it's a bearded lizard named Gertrude, and I was quite scared of lizards, and now I think they're very beautiful and very, very neat looking. But the way they move really scares me, and I know nothing about them. So he went away, him and his family went away to Mexico for a week. So I'm in charge of looking after the lizard and the cat. So I've had to put my hand in the cage and feed, you know, and all that stuff. And normally it was a fear. I didn't think I'd be able to do it, but obviously I have to care for it. So I have to. And then connecting with him, he's amazing. And he's like this intense, wonderful healer. Like I went over there yesterday and I just will sit in front of the cage and just get eye level to him. And yesterday I was feeling just really out of sorts and really heavy in my sludgy and kind of heavy. Just holding on to a lot of density, I think, and bogged down. So I connected with Gertrude, and he sat there. It is a boy. Ethan named it Gertrude because he thought it was a girl, but it ended up being a boy, so the name stuck. So he's looking at me, and I was looking at him, and then all of a sudden I just felt all the stuff through each chakra just being cleansed and cleared and lifted. And I knew it was Gertrude. It was a lizard. It was like I'd made a post about it, and someone said lizard attunement, right? But it was that connection, and I knew it was him that was helping to cleanse me. And then I just like, a big sigh, and then I was grounded again and feeling good. And I was just like, palms together, you know, bless you, thank you, little lizard, right? Like it was so amazing to experience that. And now I just love him. I haven't touched him because because I'm a little bit scared still, but just connecting like that. And it's wonderful too, because last night when I came home, I was lying down, stretching, meditating, and I connected with him telepathically because he's right across the alley. So all I had to do was think of him in my mind, and then I connected with him and felt that energy. And so they say that, that we have our animals that we can connect to at any given time that will help us with anything. It could be bear, they're all different healers for different things. But I find for me, once I make that physical connection with an animal, whether it be the squirrel or a bird or the lizard or someone's cat or deer or whatever, once I make that physical connection, now all I have to do is just visualize them, just have them in my mind, and then bang, I can connect to them. And so I guess like totem animals or spirit animals, and I can tap into that healing and that wisdom and that guidance from those animals.
Did you happen to telepathically ask the lizard what life on Orion was like? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that. But
no.
Right. They're getting more brave. You talked about that squirrel. They're getting more bold in approaching us, I think, in some where they feel like, I don't know, they're not a threat. I don't know how they would know that we're not a threat versus like.
Well, let me tell you, the way that I see now, like I see my light body very clearly, as far as like just, the orb pictures I sent you. Well, that's what like we're made up of like these. I've said this before, but it's becoming more and more apparent that not just me. See, I'll see like my light body, and I'll see like millions and millions of individual living cells of light. And I've seen that with Ariel. She's, the same. I've seen that with a drop of water. I've seen that with the blade of grass. I've seen that with a glass of lemon water. The other day, I was eating a piece of peanut butter toast and the sun was shining. Those same light cells, I glanced at my toast and then I stared and I was like, oh my God, like everything is light here. I even took a picture of it and it showed up just thousands of little cells of light. And that's what our food is. That's what our bodies are. That's what the fabric and the clothes that's what makes up everything here. It's all the same. Everything, absolutely everything. The computer that you're on right now, the car you drive, that's what it all looks like here.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there's endless cells within us, right? And they're all one life and one world in and of themselves, right? So it just goes to show you how big we are, yet at the same time how small we are compared to the entire universe. Yet we are and can be in touch with the entire universe. Mm-hmm. If that made any sense, probably.
And we can see it. We can see it, yeah. Because things are not. And then, you know, once you kind of start waking up and your vision starts changing and you start seeing things for what they really are. It becomes even, you know, kind of screws with your mind a little bit, because, you know, we think for so long we've thought that everything was just solid down here. We thought water was clear. It's not. Water's not clear. It was like these brilliant rainbow colors. Everything is. So once you start seeing, I guess you're seeing the higher dimensions, and you're seeing things for what they really are, and not the veil that you've been walking around with, thinking, you know, seeing this you know, what you imagined everything looked like because you were used to it. I don't even know how to. I don't know.
It'd be like trying to explain to somebody a color that had never been seen on Earth before, right? But things over the last 6-7 years have gotten more and more bright like that. I've noticed on Earth, of course. You know, I mean, through my own awakening, definitely.
Oh, I'm sore.
Yeah, are you? Yeah, it's been. I was kind of in that same kind of daze yesterday where I would forget what you know, I was losing track of time just for no reason, and you know, I would start doing one thing and then, you know, then I'd get focused on another. I mean, I know that's typical behavior, but this was like kind of a weird daze. Like there was no reason for me that I should have been going through that. You know what I mean? In a typical 3D type of mentality.
No, I know exactly what you mean there. Like, I mean, there's days where I'm like, I forget what I'm doing while I'm doing it.
Yes. Yes. I've been having it too. Yes. And I've been having weird little psychic abilities too. Like I will see some, nothing major in the world that I can speak on, but just a few, you know, little things in my private life, something to do with one of my kids, and then something to do with another family member. It's like I was thinking about this like a day before it happened to them. You know, and it was just like nothing. It was like
just like knowing I've seen this and this has already happened.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm not talking about predicting any kind of really. And the thing about, I think, becoming psychic, if this is what this really is, it's a matter of getting to know how to use it too. You can't just, I think the discernment comes in, right? We talk about our gut feeling and going within. There's sometimes you get those, you know, those feelings, oh God, something could really go wrong here, and it don't. And then sometimes you do, and then it's like, fuck, I knew it. I had a guy, you know, I knew it. But then when you look back on it, on those times when it really happened, I think that there was a little more extra feeling than typically when maybe you're just worried about something.
So do you think that maybe you manifested, like we manifest these things if we're, say we think something, you know, is going to happen, or, you know, say we know something's going to happen, that precognition, it may not be a bad thing, but our human mind may say, oh God, well, what if whatever, what if this, and you got these worst case scenarios in your head. Don't you think that because that's what you're thinking, that's what you create, what you manifest?
Yeah, I think it's always been that way. And I'll tell you one thing too. I think that it's getting, it's getting easier and easier to go that route if you wanted to go towards those dark thoughts. I mean, it's getting easier and easier to, if you want to get your mind to go down into that rabbit hole. Yeah, exactly.
Well, as far as like I know I've had this several times. Like I recently sent a package to this lovely man, friend of mine in the States, and even before I sent him, but even before I got his address and sent it out to him, I knew that I had already got his address and sent it out to him. It was so weird. It was like, okay, we've already done this before, but do you want to give me, So it's great to have friends and to reach out and connect with such beautiful people that are, you don't even really have to say much. And you can just approach them and say, okay, well, here's the thing or whatever. And you don't have to explain. You don't have to, because words, so much of what we're experiencing, words just do not, I can't find the words for half of the things that I want to say. But the good thing is with the people that are connected, that I'm connected to, the people that are on the same frequency, I don't need to. I can say to that person, how do I even say this? I can't find. And it's like they get it. They understand, because it's this telepathic, and it's also being on the same frequency and having that total understanding. So you don't have to find these words, and you don't have to. You can think of that person, and then that person knows, can feel you. You can feel them.
Yeah.
You can think of them, and bang, there's the message right there. You can think of someone, so that's really amazing. And that goes to show you not just that we're connected telepathically, but then how powerful our thoughts are, and manifesting as well, because we're manifesting each other too.
We really are, because, I've been in situations with like that with people, in the groups, and people that are, on our level or whatever level, where I will be a little bit apprehensive, knowing that, God, I want to say something to this person about this person because I care about them. And then the next day they may message me and they're thinking about it already. So it's like, I don't have to even, I can just play the role of the encourager, instead of somebody that has to say, well, you really should do this, or I'm concerned about this for you, or, it's, and you can go months without speaking. It's not necessary. You know what I mean?
I know.
And then once you do, and it's like you both know when it's the right time again to do it. It just happens. It's just a flow that we get into, and I think that we're really showing the way for this younger generation, because basically I think that, 95%, 90% of these kids now, I mean, they were born in that flow, and it's up to us to, I think, just be there as guides, and maybe make sure they stay in that flow that they don't even know is a flow, because they were born that way, Joe.
Just to encourage and support, like Ethan, my little neighbor, like, I mean, he's 12, and he is such an exceptionally amazing young man. Like when we had the fires here in the summer, he had a lemonade stand or iced tea stand out there, and he was, raising, like his school was raising money, so he was working with his school. But then also on the weekends, he had a lemonade stand, and he was out there, raising money for the people, for the Red Cross, for the fire, he was over before he went to Mexico. We had a big dumping of snow. And so he came over and helped me shovel the driveway. And then we saw our neighbor, who's an elderly man. He was out there. He was starting to shovel his driveway. And I looked over and saw him. And just as I was saying to Ethan, we should go help him, he was the same thing. So we just walked over there, shoveled his driveway for him. Then Ethan looks down the road, and his friend's place, and our other neighbor, he's like, I'm just going to go down there and help him shovel. And I mean, this kid is just amazing. Like, he is just so thoughtful and so kind. There's so many people out there. Well, I don't want to say so many people, but there are a lot of people out there that are just so very much for themselves. They're so very much for themselves. They don't think of other people, and they're not the kind of person that would just hop in there and just willingly help other people because it's the right thing to do or because it feels good to help other people. And I tend to not really understand that. But at the same time, for the amount of people that are very self-driven and only think of themselves, there are becoming more and more people that are, that are not, and that are considerate and that are thoughtful and that are kind and that will stop anything at a moment's notice to help a neighbor or to, do something in your community or to be there for someone. Because that's what we need. We need that connection in our community. We need that human connection back and that sense of community and, that togetherness and that support. I think that's pretty important. And the young people are showing us, showing a lot of people, how to do that again.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, again, when you say again, exactly again, but when it was done previously, the consciousness wasn't there like it is now. Mm-hmm. So back then you might just, give your neighbor a friendly wave and say under your breath, oh, I can't stand that motherfucker, or gossip about him. These kids today they seem so much more genuine, generous, very articulate. I bet you were mentioning that young boy, Ethan. I know that I was listening to my daughter, just turned 15, talk to one of her friends, same age. They sound light years above anybody that I was in upper high school with even. I mean, just, it's not just what they're talking about. It could not even be that, but it's just the way it sounds like I'm listening to two mature adults talk with each other when I heard her and her friend. And it's been a long time since I've heard even any adults talk that mature, as crazy as shit's gotten. But I think the children have showed us a little bit, that we're basically guiding them to be the leaders. They are ultimately going to be the ones that make the votes, that run for the political positions, that do the charity work, that set up the, Meals on Wheels, that set up programs. And they're going to do it with their heart and not with the sense of greed, right? Mm-hmm. Not with a sense of, we need to save a little bit of this money so we can buy our 7,113th 20-foot missile. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're going to do it because it's going to be their heart, and not their, it's going to be their heart and not their how am I trying to say this?
Their heart center.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. They know what's going on, and they're showing the way and helping even their parents. A lot of them are born to parents that are not in their heart and not as open and not as connected. So these children are even showing their parents and their families. There's just these shining examples. Yeah,
it does. And it just, again, I can't speak enough about the articulation of these kids, and they really are showing people the way, because they're not just talking the talk, they're mm-hmm. walking the walk. But even when they're talking, you can feel it, you can see it. You know what I mean? You just can't help but have it rub off on you anymore, even if you're the most closed-minded, person in Busted Tooth, Mississippi. You know what I mean? You just can't. Yeah.
There's no denying things are changing. That's for sure. And it's wonderful to see so many people. Like, even when I go out for a walk or just go out to the store and market in my community, I see so many people smiling, like just big smiles, like just be walking down the street by themselves and smiling at no one in particular. And oh my God, I love seeing people smile for seemingly no reason. I love seeing people happy. But even the little place I live, you know, I go to the market and I talk to the women there, and usually, like, I always take you know, an extra crystal or two if I feel called to when I leave the house, because I always find someone that it wants to go to. So it's very common for me, you know, when I pay for my stuff at the market, to slip them a crystal too, right? And then that just kind of opens up to them all of a sudden talking about, you know, their daughter, you know, that does readings or that connects to whatever, and then it opens it up to smudging and to, you know, all these different kind of so-called, you know, metaphysical things. But it just kind of opens up a conversation about things that are much higher than just, you know, the irregular average kind of small talk, right? And I just think that that's such an awesome thing. I'm always so uplifted after I go out into, you know, public, go to a store or whatever, because I'm always running into someone, and, you know, I'll have this conversation, and it's not about, oh, how's the weather, or, you know, the Grammys or politics or whatever. It's about spirit. It's about soul. It's about being connected. It's about being awake. And it's awesome.
Yeah. Now, could you imagine 10 or 15 years ago, even less, trying to start conversations like that? If you tried to do too many of them, you'd wind up in a rubber room at the puzzle factory, if you get my drift.
Oh, I did. I did. I spent some time. I spent some
No,
time in one place.
we've covered that on shows before about Raquel's. That is
people in there where I had great conversations with, and they really got me.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's just amazing because, but at the same time, I got to tell you, some of that is culturally, like in Canada, people are doing that here too. But in Canada, you know, you're portraying a more people are friendly here, but Sith especially noticed this when she was here, and it happened to be when we were waiting to get a pizza at 7-Eleven, and just that people looked like they're just fucking walking zombies, right? It wasn't like anybody was rude to anybody, but it just like people, you know, from the workers to the people in line, it just looked like people were
their energy, right?
Right. And America's got a lot of that still that we're clearing, you know, and I think we're working on it. At least this next generation coming up is, our generation is a little, the one above us, except for a few people, they ain't doing shit. They're, as far as I'm fucking concerned, and this will sound rude, I mean, we're just waiting for a lot of these old,
Yeah, I hear you. Don't even say it.
I know, we're just waiting for them to, but it takes time, it takes generations. It's like in 2 generations, your typical American will look like my daughter does, who's part Hispanic and part, African American, because, we adopted her. But people, as they blend together in this melting pot, will look more and more like each other. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it's awesome, the diversity. And I just don't, I'm sorry. All I can say is nothing rude, but I feel sorry for the people of a lower vibration that have this mentality ever of, oh, look at those people over there. Look at those people over there. They're, they're different. Oh, God. I mean, the boogeyman. I think we're getting away from looking for a boogeyman around every corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still myself trying to get over that Russia is not the boogeyman, but other than that, no, but I think we're getting away from that initial paranoid scare of what we don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that as we, face those shadows within that we project out into the world, once we start, because whatever we're seeing and focusing on, what comes into our focus quickly. Like, I know that I've had a couple people say to me, I'll say about the beauty in this world, like, oh my God, like, look at so much beauty. I see so much just beauty and love in this world. And this person's like, what fucking world are you living in? Like, I see so much violence and I see so much hatred and I see, like, I'm sorry, I don't see it. And then I'm thinking, well, it wasn't that long ago that I did not see any beauty in this world, because I didn't see any beauty within me. My heart was dark. My heart was closed. I was very dark. And so I projected that inner ugliness and insecurities and density and darkness and all that crap, projected that outwards. So when I looked at the world, it was a dark place, and it was a violent place, and it was an ugly place, and it wasn't a safe place. So I think that when you do that work, and you recognize that darkness within you, and you recognize it, and you face it, and you work on it, and you work through it, and you transform it, then looking out into the world, now you've lifted that from you. So you're looking out through the eyes of love. You're looking out through a more pure lens, and you're able to see beyond. So what you might see as a neighbor that's absolutely miserable, or someone that cut you off in traffic, before you might have said, "You're not fucking bitch," or "fuck you," or it thought but now you can look at it from a totally different, a more pure perspective, and you can look at it as, that person driving that just cut you off. Obviously they've got something going on. They've got things that they're dealing with themselves, and so you have more compassion, and you have more understanding. I'm sure you're not a saint. You still get pissed off. You still might look at someone and make a judgment every once in a while. But at the same time, the more you do that work, the more you can see with more clarity and with a pureness, like a child again. They don't look at people and, by the way someone looks, or by whatever. It's not natural for a child to dislike someone because of their color, or dislike someone because of, whatever, right? It's that purity. It's that purity that you get back. It's that purity. And so that you're able to see that everywhere else. And so it's like having new eyes and a new, that sense of wonder and that sense of magic. Like, have you ever looked at raindrops on the grass in the sunshine, or even at nighttime, if you shine a flashlight and you see rain, do you go like, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful," and want to cry? Like I do, because it's just amazingly beautiful.
Yeah, I've noticed it before when I bothered to remember my flashlight on our walks that me and the dog take at night. But yes, I have seen that, and it is, it's beautiful, and I think that when you project that confidence, you can command the energy of a room. Like you go and say you walked into your corner market and picked up a few things. If you're in a good mood and your energy's vibing, you can get other people in that store, talking and, smiling, and, and I that's something that I've really noticed too.
Mm-hmm.
Is
absolutely
that yeah, I can affect that.
Mm-hmm.
just by facial tones, or, not quite as extreme as Mick Jagger might do, but you know what I mean? A smile.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, our energy shifts everything. I mean, our energy field, and then the more that we open our heart to, and the lighter we become, and the more we let go of. Like I have had visions where I've been meditating, and I have seen, recently this was really neat to see. I'm going off the subject a little bit, but not really. I was getting these really harsh, it felt like I was being impaled in my crown. So I was getting these really harsh, bursts of light, or downloads of light. And what I saw was a big, huge, rod or column or whatever of light that was coming through my head. And I saw all my cells fill up, and it came right from my head to my feet. And then I saw all these strands of light shooting out of me. And then like a vortex, almost like a tornado, but it wasn't skinny on the bottom. So it was it was just harsh, and it just went whoosh, all around my body. And not only did I see that, but I felt it as well. So there have been times where I have had the visual of seeing how my energy or my light is affecting my environment and how far out it goes. So, and then you can also do this in meditation. If you want to extend and expand your energy, you can just visualize it filling up, the room. Then more lights, you can visualize it filling up your neighborhood. And then you can, you know, visualize, then just extend it out so that you fill up your city. And then you just keep doing that and just expand and expand and expand. And don't think that you're not affecting your next door neighbors, that energy you're putting out, or you don't think you're not affecting, you know, your whole community or a whole city, because in actuality you are. That light and that energy that you're putting out with that positive, you know, with that intent. That's why, like, the power of prayer works so well too. It's that intent and it's that love that you're putting out there. And it's pure. And so I just, like, there's so many people in this world that are doing that right now, that are putting out love and kindness and that positive intent and healing, and for the earth and for all the inhabitants. And I can see that going out there, and just, it's just beautiful, and it's just making a huge difference. Although sometimes we may not be able to see it, but it is everything. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, but you know, it's one thing to go into a situation like that when you're in one of those weeks where, you know, you're not really having any physical issues or anything like that. Like for me, if I'm having physical issues, it's a lot harder for me, because if I'm hurting, it's a lot harder for me to shine that light, versus if I'm feeling okay and good and, you know, out in public. But if my leg's bothering me, or my sciatic nerve, or, you know, whatnot, I'm not so, you know, I'm smiling, I'm courteous, but I'm just kind of like in that mode of like, let's get it done and get the hell out of here.
So when you're in pain, so your energy would contract, your energy field would kind of contract, and you're more pulled back kind of into yourself, and just wanting to just get what needs to be done. And, you know,
big time.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I get that, where, you know, where I'm feeling a lot of discomfort physically, but it's not because, of anything that's taking away from or degenerating any part of my body, or, I mean, it's the pain of transformation. It's the pain of bones shifting. It's the pain of muscles developing very quickly. So I find that when I'm right down, you know, in the discomfort of this, it's a constant, excuse me, it's a constant process to be able to pull myself out of it and observe. Well, of course, I can't totally pull myself out of it because I have to experience it. But it's easier if I get in a place where I can observe and I get into my heart, because when I do, then it's just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And several times as I'm here, almost in tears, and it feels like my shoulder, like I swear my shoulder blade dislocates, and then it pops in and out all the time. It feels like it and it sounds like it. And that's just my body maybe becoming more fluid.
God, I wish I could do that with my shoulder and hips.
Oh, it's harsh. I've been doing, yeah, my hips and my legs have been doing a lot of stretching too. And I'm finding that like the other day, especially after shoveling the snow, my shoulders and my arms and my neck were just like seizing up so bad. And so my thought was, okay, I need to keep stretching the top of my body because that's what's hurting. And then I just get out of the way, and my body, just my legs, and I started to, so my hips started stretch, my hips and my groin and my legs. And it was excruciating. I was like, oh my God, this hurts. But I knew, okay, this is what needs to be done. And so after about an hour and a half of stretching out my hips and legs, all the pressure and tension and pain in my shoulders and my neck and my jaw just alleviated. So that was good. And that was just me getting out of my way and not deciding I was going to stretch the top of my body. And that's just the way it goes. That's the way it's gone with me, with my physical process. It's not me consciously saying, okay, I'm going to work out, and I'm going to work out this muscle group, then I'm going to work my abs, then I'm going to work my legs, then my quads, whatever, right? Like it so doesn't work that way. And I was talking to Janice, and I think, I think I'd almost kind of prefer it if I just said, okay, you know what, I'm going to go to the gym and work out 3 or 4 days a week, and this is what I'm going to do. Because then it would be more, I don't know, like more normal, maybe easier. I don't know, but that's not the way my process has been. My process has been, my body, my higher self, my guides. Okay, you're in galactic boot camp here, and you're getting whipped into shape, and this is the work you're doing, and okay, yeah, and we do it, right? So
yeah, and they probably want you doing it that way too, versus going to the gym. This is just a hunch I'm having, right? Like there's another lesson you're learning doing it the way you are versus going to the gym and hitting whatever machine it is that it's a convenient machine to do. You know what I mean? Not that it's easy to sit there on a treadmill for an hour, but these machines are pretty much do everything else for you. You just got to kind of do the exercise. But with your body, you're on your own. You're stretching. You're having to.
Yeah, well, I've had to, doing it this way, the natural way. Well, my natural way, which seems so unnatural sometimes, my God. But yeah, it's just been just following that internal guidance. Like losing over 100 pounds and transforming into a completely different being in just under 4 years. I mean, and without research and without going outside of me and without going to the gym and without hiring whatever they call them, a life coach or a personal trainer or dietitian or whatever, this has all been just listening, getting in touch with my body, listening, honoring its needs and following the guidance. And it has been work, the hardest work. And it has been, oh my God, it has been work. Can I just have a break now, please?
Well, I can imagine not only you lost 100 pounds, like you say, you also gave up, at the same time, you'd also quit a heroin addiction. And, there isn't anything more addicting on earth than that. So, I mean, you survived that. Plus, we've talked about this before. I don't need to bring it up really too much, but you really did not have, I know you'll probably be humble about it, but you did not have a good childhood. You had some shit happen to you that a lot of people would, a lot of people would have probably committed suicide going through what you went through. And it's just amazing. And maybe that's why you have the strength to have so much being thrown at you now. I don't know, but I mean, I was a spoiled only child, and I didn't, I don't think I was ever spanked once. And so, I mean, but therefore, because of that, that's the one thing that I missed growing up, was having discipline. Now, if I could do it all over again, would I want to live through strict parents? No, I'm glad I had the ones that I did that, they were divorced. They both worked nights. I did my own thing, blah, I mean, no, but it would have helped me in a lot of little ways to have a little bit of, I don't know, maybe not, to have a little bit of conflict and strife, a little more so than I did.
Well, you chose your parents for a reason. So did I. So
I know I did mine. They weren't even meant to ever have kids. I mean, they were in their late 20s. One's a Taurus. One's only 2 days. One's birthday's 2 days ahead of mine. So I'm a Leo, and I got a Leo and a Taurus parents. And yeah, they had me at 28 and 26. And I mean, it was by that time in those days in the 70s. I mean, a lot of people weren't going to have kids if they hadn't had them by that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and I was born C-section, and we almost died, my mom and I. She couldn't have any more kids. So I was an only child. And I think, it would have been nice to have a brother or sister. I had those thoughts, but then again, I was so greedy as a spoiled child. I wouldn't have wanted it for that long. I wouldn't have wanted it for that long. I liked that, although I had a lot of alone time that, that sucked, but it didn't really suck. But, sometimes it got lonely, but I'd have friends over and do shit we probably shouldn't have been doing. But, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of glad to be an only child, actually. I mean, and I don't know what it's like. It's weird because I don't know. It's like when I'm talking to somebody, what's it like to have, what's it like to be an only child? Well, I don't know what it's like to have a sibling. I mean, I have our star brothers and sisters, but I don't know what it's like to have, you know, you're in an Earth family. I don't know what it's like to have a brother or a sister, you know, versus most people know what that's like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jevon's an only child.
Oh, really? Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Jevon's an only child. I'm a middle child of three, so I have an older sister and a younger brother. And yeah, I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be an only child. But I mean, that was in another life almost to me. Like I just,
Me
yeah.
too. A couple of them ago, actually, I would say it feels like it was a couple of them ago to me.
Yeah. So much has changed so quickly, you know? Like, wow.
Yeah, like really, even in a 3D world, okay, so pre-1995, you couldn't even, the public, you know, there was no, you couldn't even get the internet. They had in colleges like some kind of a network. There was like 6 sites where you could do education resource, but I'm talking like the internet, like that we know it. I mean, it wasn't even around. It wasn't even around till a year after I was out of high school. And I'm talking prehistoric internet where you bought it by the hour and a limited server space, and it was 28, not 58K dial up 28. I mean, you couldn't do anything but let a page load for a minute and read it. There was no, it took till about the late 90s to where they could play, you know, where they could actually attempt to even play back a broadcast on the internet. You know, it was like 97 or so, but you know, it's quicker and quicker and quicker. And now what's coming next, you know, the virtual reality goggles that everybody's going to be wearing. So in 10 years, instead of everybody in the, you know, go to a restaurant, everybody, the family's on a cell phone, they'll have their own little goggles on.
No, no.
Yeah, no, it's already, no, it's already coming along. It's, yeah, you know, shit changes, you know? I mean, who would have thought of having the access when you and I were a teenager to, if we were out somewhere having a, here, you want to call somebody? Yeah, right. You know, it's 2 miles to a payphone. Having a phone, I would have felt like I was on Star Trek.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the internet, I had no, I just remember graduating from high school in 94 and I saw a magazine at my dad's and I looked at this cover all summer and it kept saying incoming super information highway. And I had no idea what in the fuck are they talking about. And it was the internet, you know, and at that time, most people couldn't afford it because like I said, you had to buy it by the hour and it was your server could kick you off easily. And it, you know, but then it got, you know, look how quick it boomed.
Totally.
Look where we are now. You know, and when you think about it, it's kind of a weird parallel, those goggles. Like if you had and then it'll get down to the point where it just looks like regular glasses. And can you imagine just asking a computer through your glasses any question that you could ever want to know? Then that's the question of, I mean, what do we do with our school systems? Do we start re-looking at how long we have kids in school? You know, how we teach them? It's, you know, and God, I would have loved to had Google to fucking do book reports or stuff that I had to do when I was in school or things like that, instead of just trying to be smart and reading the back of the book and then, you know, the synopsis and writing that as my book report without reading the book. Yeah. I only got away with that a couple times. Most of the teachers would catch that.
They were on to you, eh?
Yeah, they were on to us. It was, our book reports were simple. It was like, you know, couple paragraphs or a paragraph even. And, you know, and on the back of books, typically it gave a synopsis like that. I mean, that would be tailor-made perfect if you were, you know, write a phony book report and you hadn't read the book. But, you know, I really have never been much into reading. I was a TV junkie when I was a kid, a magazine junkie, but reading, unless I'm interested in it, it's hard. You know, I think I don't know the last book I read all the way through. I can't.
Actually, I have a couple books here. Excuse me, I'm cleaning out my closet and I got so much to get rid of. But I have a couple books here, and one is like UFOs in the Bible or aliens in the Bible. Yeah, I think UFOs in the Bible, and another one is, and I have no idea where I got these books from, but I'll have to when I go through them before I donate them, I'll have to pull out a couple that I think that you might like and then send them to you, because a couple of them are like really old, like really, really old, but they look pretty cool. So, and I have no idea where I got them. I don't even remember ever, they've been with me for years. So.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they're older, because sometimes you can catch stuff in those older UFO books or magazines or articles or even talk shows that I find that you don't now. I mean, just little things that we miss that, and then you realize, well, some of this, a lot of this shit, there was a lot of people out there that knew this already.
Yeah, it was already out there.
It was already out there. It was. It was amazing, but I guess it depends on the location. I mean, I was listening to a show from Los Angeles from like the late 70s, and it was talking about the Billy Meyer and the Pleiadian case, and people were very articulate calling in, but it was LA, and, I'm sure that wasn't like in most small towns across North America or the world. I mean, you didn't have a big enough group of people to find a metaphysical shop or whatever, and you know what I mean. And I think that we've gotten out of the that kind of shit was more of a cult mentality though too back then. There was more.
Yeah, it was also something that a lot of people didn't want to discuss or didn't even really want to think about. I think that nowadays people are, because there's so much coming out in the open and so many people talking about things as far as their encounters, with the ETs or connecting with angels or seeing energy or energy healing or crystal healing or aromatherapy or all this stuff kind of ties in and it's all connected. And it's something that I find very, very many people that are awake, like all these things, they just start to rediscover all these things and different herbal remedies and different, healing modalities. Those were things that people, it wasn't really too out there as far as how out there it is now and how many people, like, as far as energy healing, even say, take that for an example. You didn't really hear about it that much before, except in maybe like, little groups of people. And if you weren't part of that group, how were you going to hear about it? But now it seems like everybody in someone's family, at least, is either, knows about aromatherapy or herbal remedies or crystals or, energy healing. Or so now we're talking about these things and more people, have access to, we're putting it out there. So more and more people are taking notice and being like, oh, okay, well, what, and then researching it for themselves or coming across it.
Yeah, no question about it. No doubt about it. And thank goodness, finally, thank goodness that these conversations can be had at least without being looked at like, you're crazy, right? And it'll get even more. It'll get better. I mean, there's more. The light is eventually overtaking the dark on this earth, and that's the process of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And speaking of light, I've actually got a little matter that I need to attend to here in a few minutes. Do you have anything, Ms. Toombs, that you would like to wrap up our show with?
I'd just like to say for everybody out there that is exhausted and tired, you're not alone. You can totally do this. You can get through this. You've had many times where you've been exhausted and tired and felt like you couldn't go on, but you can, and you did. And here you are. Right. So just, take time to integrate these energies and take time for you and call on your team. Just make a call for help, and don't have any preconceived notions on what that help is going to look like or what form it's going to take. Just, you know, in your heart, in that space, in that sincerity, just put out a call for help, and be open to receive it. And whether you receive that in your sleep or have a vision or a visitation while you're awake, it's just there's so many here at this time helping us. And so we just have to allow, ask and then allow and tap into that. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like my seventh grade football coach told me that water was for wimps when we were, and he would not let us have water at practice. And then a few kids died back in the South during, summer practices and from dehydration. So they mandated that, that all schools, when a student says they need a drink of water on the football field, they need one. But no, water was for wimps, and suck it up, Buttercup were his two favorite mantras.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Water is for, yeah. After I just got the shit beat out of me, yeah, water is for wimps. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, but exactly. And I really appreciate you coming on here tonight. It was really nerve-wracking for me because I haven't been on air in a while. And it's just been really awesome. And thank you.
Thank you, Larry. I'm sorry I'm yawning. I love you, Larry.
I got to talk. Yeah, I've got to do a couple things as well. And with that being said, of course, Raquel's a legend. Yeah, I mean, I could probably say it for you. You can find her on Facebook. You better get your reservation in if you want to be on her friends list, though. I think she's, probably over the limit.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, you're in a million groups on Facebook. Is there any one of your particular ones that you want to promote?
Well, I honestly have not really been doing a lot in the groups. I don't know. I'm just kind of doing my own thing.
I've been busy trying to fight off the nut running our country and convince people. But yeah, exactly. I haven't been spending any much time in the groups either. So
Some of One is a group that me and Hillary run.
Yeah.
Hillary more so than me. Sorry, Hillary.
I wish you would have won the election, Hillary. Sorry, but
yeah, me and Hillary. And then Canadian Pleiadian. Those are really about the only two groups that I share to and that I try and get to as often as possible.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks. And I'm going to just make this real quick. I could go over the million pages, and I have Raquel as an admin, and probably more than she knows of them. But if you want to see the over 20 pages and 40 different starseed groups that have been created over the last few years by us, you can go to a page called Pleiadian Groups and Pages. Don't go to the Facebook group that says that, because it's outdated. Go to the page, Pleiadian Groups and Pages, and you'll see all our pages, groups, our two YouTube channels, which this one is the bigger one, and it's for more dialect like this. My other one is the Pleiadian Light Grid Project. It's a lot smaller of a channel on YouTube, and it's just my experimental channel. I screw around on there. The only thing serious I do on there is some of my channelings are on there, and some sports talk with my son, but other than that, I mean, just goofy comedy, stupid shit I've done on the whim, like trying to record a country album on my own with my voice. To boot, can you can go hear my 14 hit Nashville songs where I take rock and roll songs from all over the decades, and I've tried to sing them in country. Yeah, that'll be a real treat. I think Raquel's been treated to that before.
My ears are bleeding.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I know. I can carry a tune like a mouse can carry a fucking bench press machine. But other than that, also I wanted to mention too our website, Pleiadian Express Pro Oh God, I'm having a brain freeze right now. We have a web, Pleiadian Express,
Productions.
Pleiadian Express Pro.wix.com. There you go. You can go there to see that, and that'll lead you links to all this other shit. And it all ties back together. Yeah, much love to all this, our star family out there. And I wanted to wish someone a little bit of healing tonight. A sister of ours, Bridget Rouse, she's going through some really really like hard times personally, and I'm not going to get into any of them. I might not have even should have said that, but I wished her much love earlier, and we all wish her much love. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and part with our dating game cosmic kiss. God, I'm out of practice and out of rhythm. Here we go. Mwah. And that's a wrap.